In this video, we'll show how to work with images on WAGO controllers. These methods are a great way to back up projects as well as create tools for OEMs to deploy projects to new hardware. The first method I'll show is copying an image from a PLC to an image format. This method can be used to back up an image from a PLC to a format where it can be used if the hardware ever needs to be replaced. The backup includes things like firmware version, the code assist project, and any settings from the web-based management. This can also be used as a good way for OEMs to create an image that can then be pushed to other equipment. In this example, I've loaded a sample project provided by Code Assist to a WAGO EdgeController. This device has a quad-core processor, and this visualization does a great job of showing the performance you can get out of this device and Code Assist visualizations. At this point, I have this piece of hardware in a production state, with the boot application loaded and ready to take a backup. With the controller powered up and the project running, we'll start by inserting a micro SD card into the device. This can be up to 30 gigabytes. In order to create the image of this controller, we'll need to access the web-based management as root or administrator. Enter the IP address into a web browser and log in. It's critical to update these passwords for a production device in order to protect the controller and its intellectual property it contains. Next, I'll go to the Configuration tab, Administration, and Create Image. Here the controller shows that it's running on the device's internal flash and the memory card is its destination. Click Start Copy to begin the process of copying the project to the SD card. Once the copy is complete, you can remove the SD card. At this point, an image has been created and can be copied to a PC. This can be used later as a backup or to replicate the device for OEM applications. Now to read the image from the SD card, I'll use a free utility called Win32 Disk Imager. I'll define the location I'd like to save the image to on my computer. After picking a file location, I'll give this file a name and I'll call it demoimage.img. I'll also check the box to read only allocated partitions in order to create the smallest image possible. Then click Read to start reading the SD card. After the image read is successful, I can close this utility and store the image for later use. I'm now done backing up this controller, and I can use it in the future to deploy to a new controller. For this next part, I'll take an image that I created and make a bootable SD card that can be used to load firmware, configuration, and a Code Assist project to a controller. This is nice for OEM applications and a quick way to deploy firmware and a program to a new controller. This will also include changes that I made on the device's settings, including updating the IP address and login credentials. I have the image I created in part 1 on my PC, and will start by inserting the SD card into my computer. I'll use the same Win32 Disk Imager as I used previously, except this time I will select the image that I would like to write to the SD card and select Write. Once the write is complete, I can eject and remove the SD card from my computer. The next step will be to remove power from the controller that I'd like to deploy the project to. After I remove power, I can insert the micro SD card and then reapply power. At boot up, the controller will recognize that the SD card contains an image and will boot from the SD card rather than the internal memory of the device. With the controller now powered on, I can use a web browser to see the visualization of the project that's now running on the controller. This is a quick and easy way to check that the project now exists, and then I can copy it from the SD card to the device. Next, I'll need to copy the contents of the SD card into the internal memory of the controller. I'll do this in the web-based management and will need to log in with my updated credentials. This time when I go to Configuration, Administration, and Create Image, I see that the controller is running on the memory card, and I have the option to copy to the internal flash. Click Start Copy to move the image to the controller. This process can take a few minutes, so I'll fast forward until it's complete. After the copy is complete, I can remove the power from the controller and remove the SD card. I'll then reapply power to the controller and verify that the project has been loaded. Here I can just double check that the project and visualization is running on the controller. This controller is now ready for production. Thanks for watching. I hope this helps you speed up project deployment when using WAGO controllers.